Karen, will you lead us through the slides? Take it to, can people see it on the screen?
Anymore?
Okay. What I have done by way of introduction is to call up some of the information from the PR Tips 1 PowerPoint that I did. And I just wanted to revise a couple of the points that we made there to give you hopefully confidence in dealing with your PR. The first thing really is that the media, they really live on news. That's their bread and butter. Without news, without information, they can't survive. Neither will their papers or their radio or TV shows. So they survive by retaining their audience. So any stories that you have that are worthwhile, they're hungry for them. So don't ever be embarrassed about feeding them to them. They have a tough life, 24/7, trying to gather news and information to fill copy every week or every time they've an event on. The second part, I'm saying there, the media story gathering, their sources are really the population at large. You can make yourself part of that source. But if you're going to do that, you need to, first of all, give them the information in a timely fashion, give it in a way that they can use it. Don't make them work hard for it. So you need to format it correctly, and we've got some information on that later on. Now, the media can be divided very roughly into international and national, the regional and the local. The regional and local are those that will most be of interest to you in your clubs and in your areas and probably even divisions. So just be conscious of that. If something of an international or national status coming up, holler at Karen and the support will be there through Karen, and I'll provide it to you as well. Whatever we can do, we'll provide you with the backup for it. Now, our Toastmasters stories are mainly, bring them in there, Karen. Okay, local or regional, hard copy, printed matter and photos, the local radio, and they're targeted at attracting club members. It's an attempt to grow membership and to give your club greater standing. Now, if you can link your stories with the community at large, have some good background event and something to do with future, so that you have the past, the present and the future laid out in your stories. And if possible, try to get some quotation or endorsement from a personality, or if you can get someone like a local councillor or a local dignitary to back you up or to give you a quotation or attend your event or your meeting, then this broadens the interest of your story. If I can put it this way, if you look at the PR Tips 1, if you say a story is that John and Joe are at the area contest, if you change that story to John and Joe are at the area contest that was attended by XYZ personality, who may be the councillor or someone in your local area, and then say that John, Joe and the personality were at the contest, and that Joe was recently or last week won a major international contest. What you're trying to do is broaden the scope all of the time of what's there, so that there will be more readers there. Now, the simple line maybe is attractive to 20 Toastmasters. The second one with the personality brought in could be attractive to a few hundred. And then when you broaden it out even further than that, you want to get the maximum number of readers for them. Now, our Toastmaster stories and photos, they need to be captioned with the names in the correct order from left to right. They should be in the highest possible resolution, and they must be published with the consent of the person in the photo. And one final point I put in there, parental consent or school approval needs to be obtained if you're putting up photographs of minors or of schools. As a Toastmaster PR, you should have a list of contacts You should have the copy day for your local press and know when and who to contact locally, and record this and keep it to pass on to the next PR coming in. Regularly, I find that PRs are left with a blank sheet when they come in and don't get information passed on. In Toastmasters, we divide public relations into two different sections. One is the internal PR, which is for member information, newsletters. You've listed them there. You can see your club events, area, division, district, and international magazine. Don't forget the international magazine. It's important. I'll talk about that later. The external PR is to your local or national press and media, to external bodies like chambers of commerce, the SkillNet local development and Chamber of Commerce exercise we did down in Shannon with the letter. You've got corporate members and corporate PR departments. When you're dealing with these, make sure if you're going to use a corporate's name in a news release on behalf of your club, make sure you get permission from the company to let it out. We were doing a news release at the end of last year, in fact, for one of our dignitaries visiting here, and at the last minute I was asked to do news releases for it. We drew them up, but when I contacted the company just to get their clearance as a matter of form, because I do that routinely, I was told, sorry, you can't publish anything. We're in the middle of a company takeover and acquisition, and you'll be breaching the stock exchange and rules by publishing that. So just be careful. Check out that you have permission to actually issue a news release for it, and make sure that you work, that you give yourself plenty of time to do that. And when you're dealing with sponsors, make sure that you coordinate with their public relations people. Now, I know, for instance, that the Bank of Ireland are doing a large feature on Julie Kerté's session we had last Tuesday with them in the Bank of Ireland magazine. So you can expect to see a few pages and some very, very useful PR in that. So any clubs that are near Bank of Ireland or have Bank of Ireland customers, they'll be getting direct information on Toastmasters and on Julie Kerté's. And then the other thing is special events, such as we do the teacher council, speaking to external bodies. If you're doing flyer drops around town, and for your multimedia publications such as Folkboat, sorry, not Folkboat, I used to say the Folkboat, Facebook, my apologies. So you can flip to the next one, Karen, please. Your photos, there's a few top tips there. I put them out there for getting your perfect shot. These are from the web, and the link is there. The track record is important. Get the best photographer you have available to actually do your shots. Know what your picture editor, what your local correspondent is interested in. Try to be a bit more creative with your photographs so that it's not just, say, John handing a check over to Mary or John giving Mary a certificate. Make a good story of it. Get your branding in the background if you can, your club banner or something to brand it. And then plan it properly and be aware of the news agenda, who you've got to send it into, and get it in on time so that it meets the copy date, and do it quickly, soon after the event. If you look at that article there, you'll find all of those items expanded. It's good reading. There's loads of those on the internet that will help you. And also there's a slide on PR Tips 1, the original one, with tips from Willie Doyle in the December PR Tips. I checked them with Colin Byford, as another good friend and Toastmaster, and he gave me the same type of tips as Willie's. So rather than reprint, I've just referred you back to that one. Next one, Karen. Now, when you're formatting your news release, this is from the original one. These are the points that you need to take into account in creating your news release. So at your leisure, please do look at that. There are multiple formats for it, but these are the things that I find most useful and most PR people will do. You need to state that it's a news release, state the date of the release, the date for publication if that's different, the sectors that it apply to, put these at the top of it, whether it's social, business, farming or finance. That way, whoever gets it in the newspaper can direct it to the right correspondent or department. And then you want to have a headline for it and an alternative headline, or even two alternatives, so that different newspapers can pick up and decide on headlines. You're helping them to write it so they don't have to spend time with their fingers on their computers typing the news release themselves. Body of the release we deal with separately. It's like writing a speech. You've got the introduction, which is the beginning, the body of the release, which is what the story is all about, and the conclusion and the sign off. And don't forget, Toastmasters has a strap line or a bottom line for finishing off news releases, which tells you how many clubs, how many members, and puts out the official Toastmasters line. And that's available at any time from the media section of Toastmasters International. If you sign on there, it will be there. You can pick that up. I think I've printed it further on at the end of this. There you are. You can see it there, the example of the end. That is the current Toastmasters finishing paragraph, the one which is pointed to in the slide. And that gives the current situation with regard to clubs, countries, and the official line from Toastmasters themselves. Next. Here you have a specific release. That's the one about the Shannon Chamber welcoming Toastmasters. Just to talk very briefly about that, we had a letter down in Shannon area doing a small presentation to a club and a trip paid for by Toastmasters in the States. Now, I believe we should make best possible use of these and help to promote things in the area. So I used to be involved in industrial development over here and in the PR side of it. So I contacted the Chamber of Commerce, the local Shannon Development, and we have a program in Ireland called SkillNet, which is under the Department of Enterprise. So I was able to arrange between Shannon Chamber and SkillNet for a letter to do an extra session, which was paid for by SkillNet, and they invited people from the local area and entrepreneurs and business people. There were 39 people from 20 different companies in Shannon. Now, Toastmasters was promoted by a letter at that, and everyone had a marvellous evening, extremely interesting, and lots of inquiries about joining Toastmasters, and an opportunity for people in the Limerick and Shannon area to go chasing after them and see if they can get new members and form new clubs in the area. So that slide and the next one just has the rest of that release on it, and you'll see the caption photographs there as well, and also the further information from Killian Gaffney of Shannon SkillNet and Karen O'Donnell there. As a body, Toastmasters needs to get more into the community. You're all learning fantastic skills, and it seems a pity to let them peter out. So why not go talk to your local chambers, local bodies, local papers, and spread the word. A little more about that later on. These are two more. You can see the little flyer from the Shannon Chamber SkillNet. We got huge publicity on the Shannon Chamber of Commerce website from this. And the next one beside it was the event that Karen mentioned in the Bank of Ireland in Montrose. This was because we had Julie Curtis over for Power Talk on the Monday night doing a presentation, and we did that in the Slogan Park Hotel as part of quarterly presentations we do there. But again, through Mairead Dillon, we got in contact with the Bank of Ireland. They have a hospitality suite in the old Montrose Hotel, and they invited the over 50s that they had on their books from the whole of the area to come in for a talk from Julie, and also for afternoon tea in the Montrose site. They provided a marvellous afternoon tea, fantastic event. Julie did them proud, and we had, I think it was 70 something people there. Loads of inquiries about starting a club based on that centre, which I hope we will do over the coming weeks. We also had represented at it, you see, ISAX, which is an organisation that promotes enterprise and events for the middle-aged to older group. And I'm currently discussing with them the possibility of running functions like that around the countryside, and also doing some training for entrepreneurs using speechcraft. So there are huge spin-offs coming from that, apart from the article which is being done for the Bank of Ireland Journal, which is circulated through the Bank of Ireland throughout the UK and Ireland. So there are thousands and thousands of that article will be going out to people. The next one I have there for you is oh goodness me, I have sort of lost my, yeah, great. This is Thistle Toastmasters hosting the regional advisor Aletta Rocha in Scotland. Fantastic. Could I just say congratulations to Division S. They welcomed her. They put on a series of events second to none. Their news releases issued. There was a great stir about it. I was also speaking to someone else in England about the Social Mobility Fund, and they had heard in the Manchester office of the Social Mobility Fund for the UK, they had heard about a letters trip and what went on in Scotland. So do shout about what you're doing. It's going to help you to get members and help you to get established in the community. And next one, please. Karen, can you flip to the next? The next there you have the invitation that Karen issued to the Lord Provost of Glasgow. And this is where I was saying, if you can get notable people or personalities involved, it gives you much greater opportunity to get press and to get noticed and get your message over to people. On the right hand side of that slide you have information on the Social Mobility Foundation. This foundation helps to promote disadvantaged people into university, into second level, higher second level, and into university. They had a program which they ran on a pilot basis in London as a 5-part adaptation of the youth leadership program. At the moment, I'm negotiating with them to run in hopefully Manchester and Newcastle, and they also have offices in Glasgow at the moment. They will be spreading right throughout the UK, and they are keen to adopt the youth leadership program throughout the UK for people who are disadvantaged going into college. And on top of that, they run a mentoring program, and I have offered to suss the ground out for people to see how many Toastmasters in those areas are prepared to do mentoring for these people who need the mentoring. They already have the program going. Social Mobility Foundation does all of the necessary clearance for people, so I'd be looking for volunteers to help to mentor the late teens to early college goers throughout the UK, and the plan is to roll the product out, or roll the project out over the next 2 years, so that it should come to everyone around the UK. And this will be a very high profile local one from the point of view of your gathering membership and getting information out and getting the support of the public and making Toastmasters better known and making part of the community itself. The other side of PRs, which you probably don't see very much of, is we have a paid PR consultant called Chantal Cook. These are just some of the emails that Karen and myself have received of articles that have been submitted by members in District 71 and District 91 and have been published in a wide range of magazines and publications and company newsletters in the UK. She doesn't really operate in the Republic so much, so it's all UK as far as I can see, although there are quite a number of Irish people that have contributed articles to them. So if you haven't already contributed articles, Karen has a promotional program for people that do this. Do an article, send it to Karen, get it through to Chantel. If it's published, Karen, what's the reward that you get?
The names are literally put into a hat and 2 names are drawn, and they will get entry to conference free. So your entrance fee to the conference will be free, which is fantastic.
Okay, so how about that? So get writing on that and get your people writing on it, because it also helps to promote your own club. Now, the last thing I would say is that the International Toastmasters magazine is another area where you should be hopefully placing PR information, just purely to promote your own club and make people in the States realise and see, and throughout the world, that we are an active district. Let's promote ourselves. No one else is going to promote us, so we need to do it, and that's part of what we have to do from our own public relations point of view. I hope that was a benefit to you. The PR Tips December one is available as well, so if you have any questions, I'm here to answer them.
Brendan, thank you so much for that. You're such a fountain of knowledge. And the reason why I brought Brendan on is that you can see how a small idea can just really expand into lots of different PR events, activities, and then the spin-offs from those. And I thought it was worth Brendan just mentioning those to you, so as you could see what was available out there, what could happen. I've unmuted you all there. So has anybody got any questions for Brendan? Has anybody any questions for Brendan, or anything you'd like to contribute?
Will the slides be available on the Facebook group shortly?
Yeah, I've recorded these. I've recorded this whole session, Daniel. Thanks for asking. So I will send this out to you all, hopefully this evening, and it'll be up on Facebook and also on the district website.
Thank you.
Aaron, one thing I didn't mention and should have given a little bit more information on is the newsletter that you set up, the monthly newsletter, the way it's being done at the moment. I think that's been a fantastic success, and I'd like to compliment all of the people that have contributed to it. And Daniel, I hear you there. The last issue, that was a fantastic article. Congratulations.
Thank you.
The newsletter is a lot of work, and it's also where each division gets to, I suppose, focus the newsletter on their division, and it gives them an opportunity of checking out how to put together a newsletter. I think some of them were quite, daunted by the prospect, but once they'd done it and they'd experienced it, quite liked the learning that came with it. So well done to everybody who's contributed to those. Was there anything in Brendan's slides there that you'd questions over or want to know how he did it?
I think my biggest challenge is knowing how I can work with the club's PR people and inspire them to do more than just jot down a few notes on Facebook after each meeting.
Yeah, if it's any help to you, Daniel, I belong to a little club called Wicklow, and we have one guy there, Willie Doyle, and Willie, like a religion, after every Wicklow Toastmasters meeting, gets a couple of photographs, gets a little bit of funny interest going, and we meet on a Thursday, every second Thursday, and on Sunday he drops in, at the latest Monday morning, he drops in his little report that you will put up on Facebook and some photographs, and they publish it religiously. It comes out every time, every second week. There's a piece in the Wicklow People and a photograph as well, and it has resulted in a lot of interest. The club, having sort of struggled, is now growing, and people have come to the meetings as a result of seeing these.
So let me get this straight. His little meeting write-up that would otherwise go on Facebook is actually being now published in hard copy.
Yep, do it in hard copy, expand it a little bit, and put it in with a photograph to your local newspaper. If any of you are in doubt about who your local press people are, just look them up on the internet, put in local newspaper and your town, and it'll give you all of the local newspapers in your area, free and paid newspapers. These people actually want help. They're crying out, like Karen is crying out each month for articles for her newsletter. The local news offices and people only survive and have their jobs because people like us provide them with interesting information which their readers want to read. And that is the controlling thing about it. Try to make your article interesting enough for people that are more than just Toastmasters to read. Pick out a few additional little points.
Thanks, Brendan.
Okay.
Daniel, I think you're right, but the PR can be challenging for people, and I think most clubs, the poor person who's been pushed into PR is literally that. They're pushed in or they're coaxed in to do the role. They no more want to do PR, and they sort of just get through the year with doing as little as possible. And I think, it wasn't something that I was I was good at all. I don't have a PR background, but when you do it, there's a lot of rewards. You can see the benefits very quickly when people start engaging with you. I think it's to create a buzz around it and maybe little competitions or various things. People love getting those ribbons, and I've had lots of people, put in articles on Facebook to get them.
Daniel, can I make a suggestion to you and to everyone else? Why don't you take that PR Tips 2 PowerPoint presentation and present it in the middle of an area or a division contest or at your local clubs? Just go through it with them, present it to them. A lot of people don't realise they're afraid of PR, afraid of the news media. They're your friends, and they want to communicate with you. The other thing I can do, perhaps, Karen, is to do a little template for a news release and put the little blocks that I put there into it so that you can just overtype on them.
Brendan, there is another question that I've got which probably is particularly relevant where I'm based, which is very much in the towns orbiting London. It seems that most of our, what you would call them local newspapers, actually are almost regional scale, and the type of news from the community that gets in them at all anywhere might be once a year. If Rotary's done a fundraiser that's topped 100,000, that might just get in. But it's very hard to find any examples of other community service organisations that do get in regularly, because these newspapers are on markets of 200,000, 300,000, 400,000 people.
Yeah, but you do have a number of clubs in the area, Daniel, and maybe what you should do is to work with the area to do an area drop twice a month to them, and summarise the area news so that each of the clubs contributes and makes it worth their while. Because if they can see something coming in that's going to be attractive to enough of their readers to make them stop for a moment and look at that article in the newspaper, they're going to take it and they'll carry it. I've forgotten which town you're based on, Daniel.
I'm based in Milton Keynes, but we cover towns of Bedford and Northampton. We've kind of, you know, 500,000 people within, I don't know, 15
Yeah,
minutes
that's
drive of
right.
Milton
Yeah.
Keynes, something like that.
Yes, yeah,
And I think
yeah.
the newspapers tend to, you get the impression they tend to think that they're almost sort of regional offerings and they're looking for the sort of really big news in the community.
Yeah, true. Just looking here, you've got 5 different pages of local press based within sort of reasonable distance of Milton Keynes and Milton Keynes itself. So there's a premier newspaper, Essential Local News, which is a local one.
That's not say that's not.
Yeah, yeah.
The picture I paint is not totally true because there are village newsletters and we can get
Sure,
in
yeah,
to
yeah,
them regularly, and they go around hand
yeah,
delivered around the doorsteps of 200 or 300 homes.
yeah. I think they're the ones, Daniel, that you're more likely to get people looking at locally and giving you uh, uh, giving you the prospect of members. Um, the national press and the big ones are not particularly good at getting people into a local club, whereas the local free paper, or the one that's delivered locally, is, I think, the one to be aiming for.
Okay, maybe we should do more coverage of the village newsletters.
Yes, yeah, I think so. Yeah, that's well worthwhile. And as I say, you can take your Facebook post that you're putting in and expand that, and get a photograph or two in. And if you couple of different photographs, give a different one to each. If there are a couple of different village newspapers, or you can give the same one and just take pot's luck with them. But they will, by and large, once you keep feeding them regularly, they will start carrying the copy for you. Don't be disheartened if they don't take the first, second, third, fourth one that you sent in. Just keep popping it into them. It's just an extra email. What I do, I have an Excel spreadsheet, and as I find press and contacts, I just add them to my Excel spreadsheet, and then I can copy that over into my Gmail to send news releases to people.
Oh, excellent.
Anyone else?
Brendan, thank you very much. That was really informative. I think there was something there for everyone there tonight. Have a go at it. Come back onto myself and Brendan if you're challenged or if you're unsure how to proceed. We'd love to help you out. And Daniel, best of luck with your village newsletters or your newspapers there. Is there anybody
we'll
else?
try to get in a few more.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. The Eventbrite can work really well, or sharing your Facebook page with something else that's in your village. You know, if your town has a particular Facebook page, sometimes they will share your information as well. Keep it ongoing. I think it's just keep, let people know what we do. It's fantastic.
Yeah, Karen, one thing that I do find is we spend a lot of time as Toastmasters learning skills. We develop our speaking skills, our leadership skills, but by and large, we don't, in this district and in 91, funnily enough, develop huge opportunities for people to do work outside Toastmasters within the community. If you go to some of the districts in the States, or most of them anyway, and the same in India and Africa and literally in most other places, they've got a different sort of outgoing attitude, and they tend to get into the community and do the youth leadership, do the speech craft, go and meet their rotaries or their chambers of commerce and do public speaking. And I notice, for instance, you'll often see, particularly in the States, where they'll have 100 or more scouts joining in for the youth leadership from different groups in the evening in scout halls. It's just, we have a fantastic resource there, And this is where I think Pathways is leading us to be more open with people. And that's part of really what your plan, Karen, was in developing the public relations role into something that would really push the Toastmasters out and let people see, because that way you will get new members in, you'll become an important person of the community, and you'll be able to use your skills instead of the way some people drop out. So over to you.
Absolutely, Brendan. Thank you very much. Thank you all for coming on this call. I hope you got something out of that. Again, I will send you on the recording, and it will be on the website and on Facebook pages, of course. So thank you.
Thanks.
Thank you.
You're more than welcome. Take care now.
Thanks, Karen and all, and good night.